Hey guys, tonight we begin with a journey into a life shaped by profound sacrifice and unexpected power. The untold story of eunuchs throughout history. We'll uncover their roles, their struggles, and the silent strength required to navigate a world that both relied on and marginalized them, exploring a hidden aspect of human resilience. So, before you become a eunuch, take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy our content. And let us know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. It's always a joy to see how many people from all over the world are ready for this journey. Now, dim the lights, close your eyes, feel your body deeply relax, leaving the day behind. Forget who you are right now, and let's begin your new life as the eunuch tonight. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the grand, opulent, yet silently watchful halls of an ancient imperial palace. The good news, your position here is secure. The bad news, that security came at an irreversible cost. Your bed is a simple yet comfortable mat, a stark contrast to the luxurious silks and soft pillows reserved for royalty. There's no family nearby, no warmth of a traditional embrace, just the cool, silent air of the vast chambers and the distant, muffled sounds of a palace awakening. You blink awake as a soft gong echoes through the palace, a gentle yet insistent call to duty. It's the imperial alarm clock, subtle yet absolute. Your home is a small, meticulously kept chamber, one of many within the sprawling palace complex. No windows directly to the outside world, only to inner courtyards. The air carries a blend of incense, old stone, and the faint, ever-present scent of power and secrets. Scented candles are for the empress, not for you. You try to stretch, but a dull ache reminds you of the unique burden you carry. You are young, yet your body has already been reshaped by the demands of service. Your spine feels straight from years of dutiful posture, but a deep, quiet weariness resides within you. The dull ache, that quiet weariness you feel, is a constant whisper of a life irrevocably altered. It's a reminder of a moment, perhaps long ago, that carved a new destiny for you. Imagine, if you will, the delicate balance of a child's world, where the future is a boundless canvas of dreams. For many, like yourself, that canvas was abruptly, dramatically reshaped, not by choice, but by circumstance. Perhaps you were born into a world where poverty was a relentless master, its icy fingers tightening around every family. In ancient societies, to offer a son for service as a eunuch could be a desperate gamble, a last resort to secure a measure of protection or even a meager income for starving parents. It was a sacrifice, yes, but one born of utter necessity, a harrowing decision made for a child who could not comprehend the weight of such a bargain, a parent's tearful goodbye, a silent prayer for a future they could not provide, a future that, paradoxically, was now being bought at an unimaginable cost to their child. Think of the gnawing hunger, the cold nights, the desperate hope that flickered in their eyes as they made this impossible choice. Or consider the cruel lottery of conquest, the thunder of distant drums growing ever louder, closer, until the world was irrevocably shattered. When cities fell, when empires clashed, young lives were often among the spoils. Captured boys from vanquished lands were not merely enslaved, many were castrated, brought into the service of their new masters. This act was not just about control, it was a potent, chilling symbol of subjugation, a declaration that their lineage, their very future, now belonged to the conqueror. You, perhaps, were one of these children, ripped from your home, your language, your very name, to be molded into a silent, obedient servant, a living trophy of triumph. The shouts of soldiers, the terror in the eyes of your family, the sudden, overwhelming sensation of being powerless. These are the indelible first memories of your new reality. And then there were the paths paved by faith, by devotion, or by the harsh hand of justice. Think of the ancient cults, where some believed that to achieve ultimate spiritual purity, to commune more closely with the divine, one must shed all earthly ties, including the ability to procreate. Self-castration, a radical act of piety, was seen as a gateway to sacred service, a path chosen, yes, but often indoctrinated from a young, impressionable age, before true understanding could take root. Or the young man, perhaps accused of a grave crime, whose body was marked not just as a punishment, but as a permanent living deterrent, a stark warning etched into their very being, forever set apart from the social norms, a pariah in their own community. The whispers, the averted gazes, the unspoken judgment, these too became part of your early experience. Picture a time before the palace walls became your silent guardians, a time when childhood was still a vibrant, unburdened chapter. Perhaps you were playing in a sun-drenched village, the laughter of other children echoing through the narrow streets, the scent of wood smoke and freshly baked bread filling the air. Or maybe you were learning the rhythms of ancient texts in a quiet family home, tracing characters with a small, earnest finger, dreaming of a future as a scholar or a warrior, a father or a farmer. Perhaps you were simply dreaming under a vast, indifferent sky, unaware of the specific, unique fate that awaited you. The simple joy of a shared meal, the warmth of a mother's embrace, the security of a familiar world. These sensations, so vivid in memory, now belong to a life that feels like a distant dream. Then came the day, a day shrouded in a mix of fear, confusion, and a dawning, terrible understanding. For many, this transformative event occurred at a tender age, before the full comprehension of its profound implications, before the ability to truly consent. It was a decision made for you, a path chosen by others. A child's understanding struggles to grasp such finality, such an abrupt end to one version of life and the beginning of another, entirely alien one. The games ceased, the lessons stopped, and the carefree world of youth dissolved into a haze of uncertainty. The world, once a place of endless possibility, contracted to a point of intense, bewildering pain. The act itself, a medical procedure in ancient times, was far from the sterile, precise operations of today, often performed with rudimentary tools, a sharp knife, heated irons, binding cloths, by individuals whose skill varied greatly, and with a stark absence of anesthesia or even basic antiseptic practices. It was a brutal ordeal. The searing pain, though now a distant memory, left an indelible mark, a foundational trauma that would resonate through every subsequent year. It was more than just a physical alteration. It was a symbolic severing from a conventional future, from the possibility of a lineage, a family, a traditional life as understood by most. It was the deliberate closure of one path, opening another that was narrow, prescribed, and utterly unique. Imagine the quiet terror, the confusion, the sheer vulnerability of a young body undergoing such a profound, life-altering change. The world narrows, the senses heighten, and the only reality is the immediate, overwhelming present, a wave of agony that washes over everything. In the immediate aftermath, there was the long, slow journey of healing, not just of the body, but of the spirit. The days blurred into weeks, perhaps months, of recovery in a quiet, secluded chamber, often with others who shared your fate. The silence that followed the procedure, the quiet isolation, allowed for the stark realization of what had occurred. A sense of profound loss, a childhood suddenly extinguished, replaced by a nascent awareness of an unchosen path. Your body, once whole in its potential, was now meticulously cared for, nurtured back to health, but for a new, predetermined purpose. The physical wounds might close, but the psychological landscape was forever reshaped. A new identity slowly beginning to form in the quiet shadows of recovery. The world became a place of hushed movements, gentle hands, and a constant internal questioning of who you now were and what this new existence would entail. Each sunrise brought a renewed confrontation with this altered reality. Imagine the quiet mornings of that recovery, the unfamiliar textures of new garments, perhaps silk or coarse linen against newly sensitive skin. The hushed voices around you, speaking of duty, service, and a new life that now lay ahead. Each passing day brought a clearer understanding. The innocence was gone, replaced by a unique destiny. The world outside, with its simple joys and predictable roots, now felt impossibly distant, a life you could only observe, never fully inhabit in the same way. You were set apart, marked for a special service, yet also marked by a profound, solitary difference. The sense of otherness began to settle in, a quiet companion that would walk with you through every opulent hall and every lonely corridor. The once vibrant colors of your childhood memories began to soften, to fade, replaced by the muted tones of your present reality, a canvas painted with shades of sacrifice and quiet acceptance. This was the fateful dawn of your life as a eunuch, a journey beginning not with a step forward, but with an irreversible transformation, a sacrifice made, often unknowingly, that would shape every breath, every thought, every duty that lay ahead. It was the moment the old self began to fade, giving way to the emergence of a new identity, forged in the crucible of circumstance, and the quiet understanding of a path now irrevocably chosen, not by you, but for you. A life where the greatest power might one day bloom from the deepest personal sacrifice. A life that began, not with a choice, but with a profound and silent echo of what might have been, replaced by the stark, compelling reality of what now was. You are no longer just a boy or a young man. You are a eunuch, and your journey has just begun. The echoes of a lost childhood linger, but the path ahead, though unchosen, is now undeniably yours to walk, guided by the silent, persistent current of destiny. The echoes of a lost childhood may linger, but the quiet routine of recovery soon gave way to the steady rhythm of your new existence. The secluded chamber, once a place of solitary healing, became a transition point, a brief pause before the structured life of service truly began. You were no longer merely recuperating, you were being prepared. Imagine the crispness of fresh, simple robes, replacing any tattered remnants of your past. The scent of medicinal herbs slowly fading, replaced by the faint, clean smell of polished wood and the distant aroma of the palace kitchen. Your body, though still bearing the invisible scars of its transformation, slowly regained its strength. Yet this newfound physical resilience was now bound by a different kind of discipline, a silent understanding of your place within this grand, intricate machine. Your days began to unfold with a new precision. The soft gong that woke you was now a familiar signal, not just to rise, but to prepare for the specific duties that would define your hours. The initial phase of your training was fundamental, designed to integrate you seamlessly into the palace or temple's intricate hierarchy. It was a rigorous, yet often silent education in the very art of existence within these formidable walls. Think of the meticulous lessons in hygiene, more than just cleanliness, but a ritual of purification and presentation. Every garment, every strand of hair, every aspect of your appearance was to be faultless. This wasn't vanity, it was a reflection of the institution you served, a constant, unspoken declaration of order and respect. You learned to move with purpose, your steps measured, your posture erect, every gesture imbued with a quiet dignity. The rustle of your robes, the soft tread of your sandals on polished stone, these became the silent symphony of your daily routine. Then came the basic literacy for those destined for administrative roles or closer proximity to power. Imagine the painstaking practice of tracing characters on bamboo slips or parchment, the ink smudging your fingers, the initial frustration giving way to a nascent sense of accomplishment. You were learning not just to read and write, but to interpret the silent language of the court, the subtle nuances of official decrees, the hidden messages in a scroll. This was the first key to unlocking a different kind of power, an intellectual strength that could compensate for what had been taken. Perhaps you were taught the foundational texts, religious or historical narratives, depending on whether your service was bound for the temple or the palace. These were not mere stories, they were the bedrock of the culture, the wisdom that shaped emperors and guided priests. You absorbed tales of heroes and villains, of divine interventions and human frailties, beginning to understand the grand tapestry of the world you now inhabited, and your humble, yet essential, thread within it. Consider the rules of the institution, whispered by older, more experienced eunuchs, or simply enforced through stern gazes and subtle corrections. You learned the profound importance of absolute loyalty to your master or the institution you served. This was not merely a suggestion, it was the bedrock of your very survival. Any hint of disobedience, any sign of personal ambition that strayed from the designated path could lead to swift and severe consequences. The palace, while offering security, was also a cage of gilded bars, where every action was observed, every word weighed. You learned the subtle art of observation without being seen, of hearing without appearing to listen, to be present, yet unobtrusive, to anticipate needs, to understand moods, to read the unwritten commands in a raised eyebrow or a flick of the wrist. This silent vigilance became a second nature, a protective layer against the unpredictable tides of imperial favor or religious dogma. It was a skill born of necessity, refined through constant practice, allowing you to move through the complex social labyrinth with a quiet, almost invisible grace. The very air of these institutions, whether the vast, echoing halls of a palace or the hushed, reverent spaces of a temple, became your new atmosphere. The scent of age-old wood, burning incense, perhaps the faint aroma of exotic spices from the royal kitchens or the musty smell of ancient scrolls in a library, these sensory details ingrained themselves into your nascent identity, marking your transformation not just physically but environmentally. The world outside, with its changing seasons and clamoring markets, became a distant rumor, replaced by the regulated temperatures and subdued sounds of your new, ordered life. The psychological shift from being a boy, an individual with personal desires, and a nascent sense of self to becoming a specialized servant was perhaps the most profound of all the lessons. You were taught to suppress your own will, to prioritize the needs of your superiors above all else. Your body, once your own, was now an instrument of service, carefully maintained and disciplined to perform its functions flawlessly. This wasn't about losing your identity entirely, but rather about reshaping it, carving out a new space for yourself within the predefined boundaries. It's akin to learning a profoundly new and challenging profession, where the demands are absolute and the personal stakes are unimaginably high. Yet, within that structure, you began to find a new kind of freedom, the freedom from the burden of personal ambition, replaced by the clarity of dedicated purpose. You might have found a strange camaraderie among your fellow eunuchs, a shared understanding and unspoken bond forged in common experience. These were the only ones who truly understood the depth of your sacrifice, the quiet burden of your unique existence. In their company, perhaps in hushed conversations late at night, or in shared moments of silent work, a fragile sense of belonging could take root. These were your brothers, your companions on this unchosen path, and in their shared silence, you found a form of acceptance that the wider world would rarely offer. In these small, profound connections, a new kind of family was formed, bound not by blood, but by shared fate and unwavering loyalty to their collective roles. This was the quiet crucible where your new identity was forged, not through grand declarations or personal triumphs, but through steady, day-by-day adaptation, through the acquisition of skills, and through the profound internal shift from self to service. The boy who once played in the sun was now a growing, disciplined young eunuch, learning to find his strength, his purpose, and even a form of dignity in the meticulously ordered, often silent world of his new life. The path ahead was still long, but the first steps, from the raw pain of transformation to the disciplined routine of adaptation, had been taken. You were no longer just surviving. You were beginning to master the art of your unique existence, preparing for the complex roles that lay in the silent shadows of the palace or the sacred confines of the temple. As the foundational lessons took root, the scope of your education broadened, transforming from general preparation into specialized knowledge, meticulously tailored to the intricate needs of your destined role. The quiet, almost invisible grace you had cultivated during your initial training now served as a canvas upon which more complex skills were precisely painted, allowing you to move beyond basic functionality into areas of profound expertise. Imagine now a world of towering libraries, hushed scriptoriums, and whispered lessons. If your path led to the inner sanctums of the imperial court, your days would be immersed in the deep currents of political and administrative learning. You might find yourself poring over ancient treatises on governance, mastering not only the official language of the empire, but also the diplomatic tongues of rival kingdoms and the classical dialects of scholars and poets. Each new character, each intricate grammatical structure, was a step deeper into the vast and complex network of power and communication that underpinned the entire realm. You were not merely memorizing, you were learning to decipher the subtle codes of statecraft, to analyze historical precedents, to understand the strategic minds of emperors past and present. The intricacies of court protocols became second nature. The precise rituals of address for every rank of nobility, the elaborate ceremonial duties, the delicate, ever-shifting balance of power that dictated every interaction within the palace walls. This was more than just education. It was an indoctrination into the very strategic heart of the empire, arming you with the foresight, contextual understanding, and administrative acumen necessary to serve at the highest and most critical levels. Your intellect became a sharp, indispensable tool. Alternatively, if your calling was within the sacred confines of a temple, your education would ascend to a different kind of mastery, steeped in spiritual lore and divine service. Picture the heavy scent of old parchment and rare incense, the flickering light of oil lamps casting long shadows as you delved into ancient scriptures, theological commentaries, and sacred hymns. You would meticulously learn the precise details of religious rituals, the symbolic meanings behind every gesture, every offering, every chant. Perhaps you were trained in the delicate art of divination, interpreting omens or celestial patterns, connecting the earthly realm with the often mysterious will of the divine. Your understanding of spiritual law, ethics, and the mystical traditions of your faith would grow profoundly, transforming you into a revered vessel of sacred knowledge, a guardian of profound mysteries, a trusted spiritual guide for a devout populace, or even for the imperial family itself. In this role, your education was not about wielding temporal power directly, but about cultivating a deep spiritual authority, a different yet equally potent and often more enduring form of influence. Crucially, during this period of advanced development, the concept of mentorship became profoundly significant. Picture an older eunuch, perhaps one who had served for decades, his face etched with both wisdom and the silent burdens of his office. He would become your personal guide, your quiet instructor, sharing not just the explicit knowledge found in books, but the invaluable unwritten lessons of experience. He might teach you the subtle art of discerning truth from flattery, of identifying hidden agendas beneath polite smiles, of navigating the treacherous currents of court intrigue or the delicate and often unspoken politics within a religious hierarchy. These were lessons that no scroll could truly impart, passed down through shared glances, knowing silences, and the careful, prolonged observation of human nature under immense pressure. This mentor would not just teach you what to do, but how to be, how to embody the unique blend of power and humility, immense influence, and personal self-effacement that defined a respected and enduring eunuch. This relationship offered a rare form of connection, a lineage of knowledge and shared fate that transcended biological ties. Through these years of rigorous study, practical apprenticeship, and intimate mentorship, you began to truly internalize your new identity. The initial sense of an unchosen path, though perhaps never entirely forgotten, was slowly softened and redefined by a growing sense of profound purpose and undeniable competence. You were no longer just a boy who had been castrated. You were becoming a highly skilled administrator, an indispensable advisor, a revered sacred guardian. Your burgeoning value within the system became not just apparent, but essential. Your mind, sharpened by years of intense study and observation, became your greatest asset, a formidable and respected instrument in a world that might have once sought to diminish you. You understood that while your physical state irrevocably set you apart, your intellectual and administrative prowess, your unwavering loyalty, and your deep understanding of the institution now undeniably cemented your place. This wasn't simply a forced adaptation. It was a profound and often empowering transformation. You learned to view the complex, often unforgiving, machinery of the palace or the sacred structure of the temple, not with bitterness or resignation, but with a growing, almost intimate understanding of its delicate operations and your increasingly vital role within it. You began to take a quiet pride in your meticulous work, in your ability to manage vast resources, to advise with clarity and foresight, to serve with an unwavering dedication that few others could match. Your new identity, once seemingly imposed, was now actively embraced, not as a concession, but as a deliberate choice to excel and to find meaning within the unique parameters of your life. The world might have expected you to remain a silent shadow, but you were becoming a silent force, a crucial pillar of the institution, a living testament to the extraordinary resilience of the human spirit to find purpose, dignity, and even a unique form of power, even in the most unexpected and extraordinary of circumstances. The silent mastery you had cultivated, the languages learned, the protocols absorbed, and the unwavering loyalty forged in those years of rigorous training now found its true stage within the opulent, yet intensely disciplined world of the imperial court. You were no longer just a pupil. You were a functioning cog in the grand machinery of power, an indispensable presence within the palace's silent shadows. Imagine the sheer scale of the palace itself, a sprawling labyrinth of courtyards, pavilions, and chambers, each with its own purpose, its own secrets. The air, thick with the scent of aged wood, exotic perfumes, and sometimes the metallic tang of unspoken tension, was a constant sensory reminder of the weighty affairs conducted within these walls. Your initial entry into formal duties began with securing the inner quarters, particularly the harems, the private domains of the royal women. This was a role of immense trust and absolute responsibility, one that required constant vigilance. Picture yourself moving through dimly lit corridors, the soft rustle of your robes, the only sound breaking the profound silence. You are a sentinel, a guardian of secrets and lives. The doors to these inner chambers, often intricately carved and heavily bolted, represented not just physical barriers, but a symbolic demarcation between the accessible world of the court and the secluded sacred realm of imperial femininity. Your presence here was a guarantee of the empresses' and concubines' safety, their privacy, and their ultimate loyalty to the emperor. No unauthorized person could pass without your knowledge, without your direct permission. It was a demanding, almost ceaseless vigil. Your duties extended beyond mere guarding. You became a master of logistics within this miniature city. Consider the flow of goods, the daily delivery of fresh silks, rare teas, and delicate porcelain from the imperial workshops, all requiring meticulous accounting and careful distribution. The smooth functioning of the inner palace depended entirely on your organizational skills. You oversaw the hundreds of servants, assigning tasks, ensuring resources were allocated efficiently, and resolving minor disputes with a quiet, firm hand. The endless scrolls of inventory, the precise scheduling of daily provisions, the coordination of repairs, these were the unseen tasks that kept the heart of the palace beating smoothly day after day. Then came your direct interactions with the royal family. This was where your years of learning court etiquette truly came into play. Imagine standing in the presence of the emperor or empress, a figure of immense, almost divine authority. Your gaze would be lowered, your posture deferential, yet your mind would be sharp, constantly analyzing, absorbing. You would present petitions, deliver messages, and sometimes, with a subtle nod, convey information too sensitive for written word. These were moments of intense pressure where a misplaced word, a slight misinterpretation, could have unforeseen consequences. Yet, within this strict protocol, you began to develop a unique relationship with those at the pinnacle of power. The royal children, too, fell under your watchful eye. You might accompany them on their lessons, oversee their play, or even act as an intermediary between them and their often distant parents. In these less formal moments, a different kind of relationship could sometimes form. One built on quiet companionship and unwavering protection. You were a constant presence, a steady anchor in their cloistered world, a witness to their growth from imperial infants to future rulers. The constant vigilance required in these trusted positions was not just external, it was deeply internalized. Every shadow could conceal an enemy, every whisper a plot. You were trained to be alert to the slightest deviation from routine, the subtlest change in behavior. This hyper-awareness became ingrained, a part of your very being, allowing you to sense danger before it materialized, to identify dissent before it could fester. It was a demanding and often lonely existence, where trust was a rare and precious commodity, and your own life often depended on your keen observation and unwavering discretion. This was the start of your life in the palace's silent shadows, a world of immense responsibility, intricate protocols, and constant scrutiny, where your unique state had transformed you into an indispensable, albeit paradoxically marginalized pillar of imperial power. The skills learned in training were now being applied, shaping not just your destiny, but the very fabric of the empire. As your initial duties in securing the inner quarters and managing logistics became second nature, your role within the palace began to subtly shift, deepening into realms of greater administrative responsibility and intimate advisory power. The silent vigilance you mastered was now complemented by a keen intellect, honed by years of study, allowing you to navigate the intricate web of state affairs and court politics. Imagine the transition from supervising daily provisions to overseeing vast financial ledgers. Gold, silver, grain, and exotic goods flowed into and out of the imperial coffers, and you, or those under your direct command, were the meticulous custodians of this immense wealth. Every transaction, every tribute, every expenditure passed through your scrutiny. The ability to manage such resources, to ensure transparency and prevent corruption in a system often rife with it, made you indispensable. You became adept at discerning patterns in trade, identifying potential fiscal crises, and advising on strategies to enrich the empire. This wasn't merely accounting, it was a profound exercise in economic statecraft, vital for the stability and prosperity of the realm. The rustle of parchment, the soft clink of counting beads, the precise script of your reports. These were the quiet tools of your power, allowing you to influence the very economic pulse of the empire without ever holding a sword. Your unique position, free from the traditional burdens and ambitions of a dynastic lineage, was seen by many rulers as a distinct advantage. Unlike powerful nobles with their own families and potential claims to the throne, your loyalty was, in theory, undivided. This perception allowed you to become a trusted confidant, a recipient of the emperor or empress's innermost thoughts and anxieties. Picture a late night in the imperial study, the only light from oil lamps, the air still and heavy with unspoken concerns. The ruler might confide in you, seeking your counsel on matters of war, succession, or the treacherous intrigues of rival factions. Your advice, untainted by personal dynastic ambition, was often valued above all others. You were a sounding board, a strategic partner, a quiet voice offering wisdom in the storm of political machinations. This was a position of immense, almost terrifying privilege and power, yet it came with a profound, often isolating burden. Consider the inherent loneliness that permeated this high-ranking existence. While surrounded by opulence, by the constant hum of palace life, and by proximity to the most powerful individuals, your personal life remained largely unfulfilled in conventional terms. The grandeur of the palace, its lavish silks and exquisite carvings, its endless courtyards and fragrant gardens served as a beautiful yet ultimately gilded cage. You might walk through these magnificent spaces, witness to every festivity, every triumph, every tragedy, yet always as an observer, rarely a full participant. The laughter of imperial children, the whispered intimacies between royal spouses, the grand ambitions of the nobility. These were spectacles you oversaw, managed, and perhaps even shaped, but never truly shared on an equal footing. The sacrifice of a personal life for the sake of imperial service was immense. The dreams of a family, of children, of a quiet home life, these were paths irrevocably closed. Your identity was almost entirely subsumed by your role. Your joys might come from a successfully executed administrative plan, a wise counsel that averted disaster, or the quiet satisfaction of ensuring the smooth functioning of the vast palace. Your intimate relationships, if they existed, would be carefully guarded, unconventional, and often clandestine, outside the norms of society. The deepest connections might be found with fellow eunuchs, those who shared your unique journey, understanding the silent compromises and profound dedication required. This paradox was a constant companion. Immense public influence contrasted with deep personal denial. You commanded respect, even fear, yet you were simultaneously an outsider, a figure both essential and perpetually other. Warriors, the weight of secrets, the constant need for discretion, the endless demands of service, these created an inner world that was often solitary, filled with unspoken thoughts and unexpressed emotions. Yet, within this solitude, many eunuchs cultivated a powerful inner strength, a resilience born of their unique circumstances. They found purpose in their unparalleled service, in their intellectual pursuits, and in the quiet, undeniable impact they had on the course of history, even if their names often remained in the silent shadows. This was the complex, rich, and often poignant reality of life as a high-ranking eunuch in the imperial court. Yet, the story of eunuchs is far richer and more varied than just the glittering, shadowed halls of power. For many, their unique physical state found profound meaning and purpose in the realm of the sacred, transforming them into guardians of the divine, spiritual conduits, and revered figures within ancient religious traditions. This shift in focus invites us to consider another profound dimension of their existence, one steeped in reverence and mystical belief, where their sacrifice was reinterpreted not as a loss, but as a path to a higher, purer form of service. Imagine a world where the lines between the earthly and the divine were thin, where every natural phenomenon, every harvest, every new life was seen as a direct manifestation of the gods. In such societies, particularly across ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt, the human body, in all its forms, held symbolic power. And for the eunuch, this power was often interpreted in a strikingly unique way. Consider the Fertile Crescent, the cradle of civilization, where the earliest records of eunuchs serving in religious contexts emerge. In these lands, great temples stood as the spiritual hearts of cities, bustling with priests, priestesses, and an array of sacred attendants. Here, eunuchs often found their place, fulfilling duties that ranged from the most mundane to the deeply ritualistic, all imbued with spiritual significance. Why would a society choose eunuchs for sacred service? The rationale was multifaceted, rooted deeply in the spiritual beliefs of the time. One prevailing idea revolved around the concept of purity. In many ancient belief systems, celibacy, or the cessation of procreation, was associated with a heightened state of spiritual cleanliness, an ability to approach the divine unburdened by worldly desires or the complexities of familial lineage. Eunuchs, by their very nature, embodied this separation from conventional life, making them ideal candidates for roles requiring profound dedication and an unblemished connection to the gods. They were seen as being set apart, not just physically, but spiritually, closer to a realm beyond the ordinary. Think of the temples dedicated to fertility goddesses, ubiquitous in these ancient cultures. Paradoxically, eunuchs often served in these very cults. This was not a contradiction, but rather a profound symbolic act. By sacrificing their own capacity for procreation, they were seen as embodying the very essence of devotion to the divine creative power, without themselves becoming entangled in the cycles of earthly reproduction. They might oversee sacred rites, ensure the upkeep of holy relics, or even perform music and chants that invoked the goddess's blessings upon the land and its people. Their presence underscored the sacredness of life-giving forces, while their personal state represented a singular focus on the divine source of that power. They were not creators, but pure conduits, unencumbered by their own biological drives, allowing them to channel divine energy more directly. In ancient Egypt, for instance, eunuchs were sometimes associated with the household of the pharaoh, which held significant religious dimensions. They might serve as guardians of sacred spaces within the palace complex, overseeing cultic rituals or ensuring the cleanliness and sanctity of areas dedicated to specific deities. Their presence offered a layer of security and purity, ensuring that sacred rites were performed without earthly distractions or potential defilement. The meticulous order and profound respect they displayed in these roles were seen as mirroring the cosmic order, reinforcing the stability of both the earthly kingdom and the divine pantheon. This initial rationale for their involvement in religious life extended beyond purity. It also spoke to their reliability and perceived incorruptibility. Without family interests to uphold or a lineage to perpetuate, a eunuch's loyalty could be entirely devoted to the temple, the cult, or the deity they served. This made them ideal custodians of sacred treasures, confidential religious knowledge, and the intricate finances of powerful religious institutions. They were the silent, steadfast pillars upon which much of the spiritual infrastructure of ancient societies rested, their dedication unquestioned, their focus singular. Imagine the quiet, methodical duties: tending the sacred flames, preparing offerings, cleaning ritual vessels, or perhaps maintaining the vast temple archives where ancient hymns and prophecies were carefully preserved. These were not glamorous roles, but they were foundational, ensuring the continuous flow of spiritual life within the community. Through their meticulous service, eunuchs maintained the sacred order, acting as tireless servants of the divine, their lives interwoven with the very fabric of ancient worship. They became figures of a different kind of authority, not political, but spiritual. Their insights, born from years of dedication and study, were often sought after. Their interpretations of divine will or ancient texts held in high esteem. They navigated the complex theological landscapes of their time, acting as silent scholars and practitioners of faith, their unique status granting them a perceived detachment that enhanced their spiritual credibility. This foundational understanding of eunuchs in religious service unveils a crucial aspect of their historical existence. It reveals that their transformation, though physically traumatic, often opened doors to profound spiritual purpose and community integration that transcended mere courtly duties. In the hallowed halls of ancient temples, amidst the whispered prayers and sacred rituals, they found a place of immense value, a distinct identity, and a quiet, enduring connection to the divine, transforming their personal sacrifice into a profound contribution to the spiritual life of their civilizations. Their life was not merely one of loss, but of reinvention, a testament to the human capacity to find meaning even in the most extraordinary of circumstances, to dedicate oneself wholly to a purpose beyond the self, in service of something larger and more eternal. This was the dawn of their sacred guardianship. Transitioning from the ancient world, our journey takes us further west, to a different empire and a burgeoning new faith. Consider the Byzantine Empire, the eastern continuation of the Roman Empire, a civilization deeply intertwined with the Christian Church. Here, eunuchs rose to positions of remarkable ecclesiastical power, not just as minor functionaries, but as influential figures within the very hierarchy of the Church. Imagine the grand basilicas, the shimmering mosaics, the ethereal chanting of the liturgy, and within this sacred splendor, the silent yet authoritative presence of a eunuch serving as a bishop, a patriarch, or even a trusted advisor to the emperor on spiritual matters. Their rise in the Christian context, particularly in Byzantium, was often rooted in a unique interpretation of Scripture and a societal emphasis on celibacy and spiritual devotion. The words of Matthew 19:12, where Jesus speaks of eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven, took on a profound significance. While primarily interpreted metaphorically, referring to those who abstained from marriage for spiritual reasons, in some interpretations and practices, it could be seen as a justification for the physical state of eunuchs, elevating their perceived purity and dedication. They were, in a literal sense, free from the earthly distractions of family, lineage, and procreation, allowing them a singular focus on the divine. The spiritual interpretation often granted them a status of revered celibacy, a purity of intention that was considered invaluable in religious leadership. They were seen as embodying a kind of ascetic ideal, unburdened by carnal desires or worldly attachments that might compromise their spiritual authority. Think of the hushed reverence accorded to a eunuch abbot, whose wisdom was sought by monks and lay people alike, or high-ranking ecclesiastical official whose counsel shaped church doctrine and imperial policy. Their presence in these roles challenged conventional societal norms where procreation was often seen as a primary duty, yet their spiritual authority often overshadowed any social stigma. The duties of these sacred guardians were extensive. They might administer vast church properties, manage monastic communities, or serve as the emperor's spiritual confessor, privy to the ruler's deepest fears and religious aspirations. Their administrative acumen, honed by years of rigorous training, seamlessly translated into the complex organizational structures of the church. They became the silent architects of ecclesiastical power, ensuring the smooth functioning of a spiritual empire that often paralleled and sometimes even surpassed the temporal one. Yet, this unique intersection of their physical state with spiritual beliefs and practices was not without its complexities, creating what might be seen as a moral dilemma. On one hand, they were revered for their purity and dedication, occupying positions of immense spiritual influence. On the other, the origins of their state, often involuntary and traumatic, presented a stark contrast to the voluntary celibacy typically associated with religious devotion. This tension between societal perceptions of their otherness and their revered status within the church speaks to the profound human capacity for reinterpretation and for finding profound meaning in the most unexpected of circumstances. Imagine the internal world of such a figure: a childhood of profound loss, an adolescence of rigorous training, and then a lifetime dedicated to the divine, a life where their very physical difference became a source of spiritual strength. The cold stone of a Byzantine monastery, the echoing chants of a sacred service, the weight of a bishop's vestments, all these sensory experiences would become intertwined with their unique spiritual journey, affirming a destiny that, though unchosen, was ultimately embraced and transformed into a powerful, sacred purpose. This broader comparative view reveals how societies, through their spiritual frameworks, often sought to integrate and give profound value to lives that might otherwise have been marginalized. The eunuchs of ancient temples and Byzantine churches were not just servants, they were sacred guardians. Their existence a testament to the diverse ways humanity has sought to connect with the divine, and to the enduring power of faith to reshape destiny. Their silent contributions to the spiritual and cultural fabric of civilizations, from the ancient Near East to the heart of the Christian East, are a poignant and often overlooked chapter in the long, complex history of human devotion and sacrifice. They stood at the crossroads of power and piety, their unique state a bridge between the earthly and the divine, serving as a constant, quiet reminder that purpose can bloom in the most unexpected of forms, forever woven into the rich tapestry of human faith. Having journeyed through the solemn dedication of eunuchs and religious service, we now turn our gaze to a different, often more volatile landscape, the complex terrain of societal perception. For while some found sacred purpose and others wielded silent power in the imperial courts, all eunuchs had to navigate how they were seen, judged, and understood by the wider world. It was a perception often riddled with contradictions, a mixture of profound respect and equally profound prejudice, trust and disdain, admiration and pity. Imagine yourself now stepping beyond the protected confines of the palace or the revered sanctity of the temple into the bustling marketplace or the quiet streets of an ordinary town. How would you be perceived? What stories would the whispers tell? What judgments would flicker in the eyes of strangers? The initial shock for many who encountered a eunuch would have been visceral. In societies where the family unit and the continuation of lineage were paramount, the very existence of a eunuch, a person deliberately set apart from these fundamental aspects of life, was a profound anomaly. This otherness was not merely physical, it was deeply social and psychological. Definitional framing helps us understand this. To be other is to exist outside the established norms, to be categorized as different, sometimes even as less. For a eunuch, this otherness could be a source of both fear and fascination. Fear because their altered state was often a reminder of violence, punishment, or an uncomfortably radical form of devotion. Fascination because of their proximity to power or the divine, making them figures of intrigue and sometimes even awe. Consider the common prejudices they faced. Depending on the culture and era, eunuchs were sometimes viewed with suspicion, as unnatural, incomplete, or even corrupt. They might be stereotyped as effeminate, treacherous, or overly ambitious, prone to intrigue precisely because they lacked traditional family ties to ground them. These prejudices, though often unfounded, could cast a long shadow over their lives, regardless of their actual character or contributions. Think of the subtle avoidance in conversations, the hushed tones when their name was mentioned, the way children might be quickly ushered away. These were the daily, unspoken battles they faced, a constant undercurrent of societal judgment. Historically, this otherness was often cemented by legal and social restrictions. While powerful eunuchs might circumvent these in practice, many ordinary eunuchs faced significant limitations. They might be barred from holding certain properties, marrying or performing specific civic duties reserved for whole men. Their testimony in court might be deemed less reliable, their social standing perpetually ambiguous. In some cultures, they were considered a distinct social class, forever marked by their status, unable to fully integrate into either the masculine or feminine spheres of society as traditionally defined. These restrictions were not just legalistic, they shaped daily life. Perhaps you yearn for the simple companionship of a spouse or the joy of raising children, but these avenues are closed to you by decree, by social expectation, and by your very physical state. The quiet ache of personal denial, a theme we've touched upon before, resurfaces here in a profoundly social dimension. Your contribution to society, though potentially immense, is often weighed against what you cannot be, what you cannot do, what you cannot create in the conventional sense. This concept of otherness created an often unseen burden. Imagine the emotional toll of constantly being perceived as different, of having your identity defined by an absence rather than a presence. It could lead to a profound sense of isolation, a feeling of being perpetually on the margins, even when standing at the very center of power. The world around them, with its clear social roles and expectations, presented a constant mirror reflecting back their unique, often challenging identity. Yet, within this challenging landscape, the human spirit, as always, found ways to adapt. But before we delve into their remarkable resilience and the alliances they formed, take a moment to consider the weight of these initial perceptions. What would it be like to carry such a unique identity, often imposed, through a world quick to judge and slow to understand? It is a question that deepens our empathy, preparing us to truly appreciate the extraordinary inner strength required to navigate a life marked by such profound social ambiguity. Yet, within this challenging landscape of perception, where otherness cast a long shadow, the human spirit, with its boundless capacity for adaptation, consistently found ways to not just survive, but to thrive. Many eunuchs, through sheer dedication and remarkable intellect, did not merely succumb to these societal judgments. They actively subverted and managed them, transforming their unique status into an unexpected source of respect and influence. Imagine the subtle, yet powerful shift in how certain eunuchs were viewed. Their perceived lack of dynastic ambition, often a source of initial suspicion, became their greatest asset in the eyes of rulers. An emperor could trust a high-ranking eunuch with secrets of state, with the care of his most vulnerable family members, or with the management of vast fortunes, precisely because that eunuch could not establish a rival dynasty. This created a unique form of loyalty, untainted by the complex web of blood relations and hereditary claims that constantly threatened the stability of courts. Thus, what began as a perceived weakness transformed into an undeniable strength, fostering immense trust that few nobles could ever genuinely achieve. Within the intricate hierarchies of palaces and temples, eunuchs often formed unique alliances. They might bond with fellow eunuchs, creating a powerful informal network of shared experience and mutual support. This brotherhood offered a sanctuary from the outside world's judgment, a place where their unique identity was understood and validated. In these close-knit communities, mentorship flourished and shared wisdom became a currency more valuable than gold. Furthermore, powerful eunuchs often cultivated alliances with specific factions within the court, or with imperial family members, becoming indispensable to their patrons. These relationships were built on reciprocal trust and shared interests, illustrating their keen political acumen and their ability to navigate treacherous social waters with strategic precision. To cope with the persistent otherness and the profound personal sacrifices, eunuchs developed a myriad of coping mechanisms. For some, it was a deep dive into intellectual pursuits. The quiet solitude of their quarters became a haven for study, for mastering complex administrative principles, for delving into ancient philosophies, or for cultivating a refined appreciation for poetry and art. Their minds, unburdened by the demands of family life, became sharp, focused instruments, allowing them to excel in fields often neglected by their more conventionally occupied counterparts. Think of the immense satisfaction found in solving a complex administrative problem, in deciphering a difficult text, or in creating something beautiful with one's own hands. These intellectual and creative outlets provided a rich inner world, a source of personal meaning and fulfillment that transcended their societal role. Others found solace in quiet hobbies, in the meticulous care of gardens within the palace, in the practice of calligraphy, or in the serene art of tea ceremonies. These moments of peace, often stolen from demanding schedules, offered a vital psychological escape, a space for personal reflection and quiet joy. It was in these private moments that they reaffirmed their individuality, not as a challenge to their role, but as a testament to their enduring spirit. Ultimately, these individuals crafted a profound sense of identity and belonging, not by conforming to societal norms, but by redefining them on their own terms. Their belonging was not in a traditional family, but in the institution they served with unparalleled dedication, and in the unique community of their fellow eunuchs. Their identity was forged in resilience, in the quiet strength to transform profound personal sacrifice into monumental public service and intellectual achievement. They found dignity in their duties, purpose in their unique contributions, and meaning in the profound impact they often had on the course of history, even without heirs to carry their name. They taught us that strength comes not always from what one possesses, but from how one adapts, how one serves, and how one finds a quiet, unwavering purpose in a life less ordinary. Their journey, therefore, becomes a powerful testament to the human spirit's ability to carve out a meaningful existence, even when confronted with the most extraordinary and unchosen of paths. Having witnessed how eunuchs ingeniously carved out a sense of identity and belonging, even amidst societal prejudice, we now turn to perhaps the most astonishing facet of their lives, their undeniable ascent to immense political power and their enduring, albeit often unconventional, legacy. It is a testament to their strategic intelligence and unwavering dedication that, despite lacking traditional bloodlines, many eunuchs became the silent architects of empires, their influence often eclipsing that of born nobles. Imagine a grand court, a crucible of ambition and intrigue, where every noble vied for proximity to the emperor, every family plotted for dynastic advantage. In this volatile landscape, the eunuch, a figure ostensibly removed from such carnal and familial desires, often became the most trusted advisor, the most capable administrator, the most formidable political player. What might seem a profound personal sacrifice transformed into a potent strategic advantage. Without sons to inherit, without a family name to elevate above the imperial one, a eunuch's loyalty could appear absolute, their focus singularly directed towards the well-being of the ruler and the stability of the institution they served. This was the core of their unique power, a perceived incorruptibility that allowed them to accumulate authority that would be deemed too dangerous in any other official. Consider the role of chief ministers, individuals who essentially ran the day-to-day operations of vast empires. Many eunuchs ascended to these dizzying heights. Picture a eunuch like Li Fuguo of the Tang dynasty, who, through sheer cunning and administrative brilliance, became the de facto ruler of China during the reigns of several emperors. Or the influential eunuchs in the Ottoman Empire, who managed the vast finances and intricate logistics of the Sultan's household, effectively controlling the flow of wealth and information that sustained the entire state. These were not mere servants. They were master strategists, their minds sharpened by years of meticulous observation and their hands adept at pulling the invisible strings of power. Their strategic roles in court intrigues were legendary. In a world where alliances were constantly shifting and betrayal lurked behind every silken curtain, eunuchs often operated with a clarity of purpose that baffled their dynastically bound counterparts. They understood the psychology of power, the subtle art of negotiation, and the ruthless necessity of decisive action. They could form powerful alliances, not based on marriage or kinship, but on shared political goals, on promises of patronage, or on the sheer force of their administrative network. They might elevate loyal commoners, cultivate relationships with military commanders, or even subtly influence imperial decrees, all to maintain balance, expand their influence, and protect the stability of the realm, or their own position within it. The palace, once a place of mere service, became their grand chessboard, and they, the most patient and calculating of players. What made their navigation of these political landscapes so unique was precisely their freedom from traditional dynastic ambitions. While a powerful minister with a family might be suspected of plotting to seize the throne for his sons, a eunuch, by definition, posed no such threat. This made them invaluable intermediaries, trusted custodians of state secrets, and effective enforcers of imperial will, particularly when it conflicted with the interests of powerful noble clans. They could rise to become powerful regents during the minority of an emperor, guiding the destiny of an empire without the fear of establishing a competing royal line. It was a paradox. Their personal sacrifice of lineage gave them an unprecedented level of political trust and opportunity. Let's delve into specific examples. In China, eunuchs like Zheng He, a famed admiral of the Ming dynasty, commanded vast fleets and led expeditions across the Indian Ocean, expanding Chinese influence far beyond its borders. His naval exploits, driven by the imperial court's desire for tribute and diplomacy, were a testament to the immense military and administrative authority entrusted to eunuchs. Closer to home, in the imperial capital, Eunuchs were responsible for state monopolies, tax collection, and even the supervision of grand construction projects, effectively managing the economic engine of the empire. Their hands, though never those of a warrior or a prince, held the reins of immense wealth and strategic direction. Their enduring impact on history, despite lacking biological heirs, manifested in different yet equally profound forms of legacy. They might establish schools, build temples, fund public works, or leave behind vast administrative records that shaped the future governance of the state. Their wealth, often considerable, was frequently reinvested into the institutions they served, ensuring their lasting mark. Zheng He's voyages, for instance, remain a monumental achievement in exploration and diplomacy, a legacy built not on a family name, but on imperial service and personal brilliance. These contributions, etched into the annals of history, became their unconventional children, their enduring testament to lives dedicated to something larger than themselves. This block uncovers the profound truth that personal sacrifice, when channeled through intelligence and unwavering dedication, could translate into an almost unimaginable level of public influence. It reveals the eunuchs as formidable political figures, their minds sharper than any sword, their strategies more intricate than any dynastic plot. Their journey was not merely one of survival, but of mastery, of shaping the very destinies of nations from the silent yet intensely powerful shadows of the imperial court. This was a legacy forged not in blood, but in brilliance, a testament to the diverse ways in which human beings can leave an indelible mark on the world, redefining the very nature of power itself. The empire thrived, or sometimes suffered, at their quiet command, proving that authority, wisdom, and lasting impact could indeed blossom beyond bloodlines. Yet, even with such profound external influence and a legacy etched into the annals of history, the human heart yearns for more than just power and public acclaim. Behind the grand titles and strategic maneuvers, beneath the silk robes and the watchful eyes of the court, there existed a deeply personal, often solitary, inner world. We've spoken of the public face, the dutiful servant, the wise advisor, the silent force, but what of the eunuch's own quiet heart? What of their individual dreams, their private sorrows, their most intimate connections and quiet joys? Tonight, we journey into that unseen landscape, exploring the emotional depths and personal reflections of those who lived a life unlike any other. Imagine, if you will, the deep, unspoken bonds forged in common experience. In a world that often misunderstood or openly marginalized them, fellow eunuchs became more than just colleagues. They formed a unique kind of chosen family, a sanctuary of shared understanding. Think of the subtle, knowing glances exchanged across a crowded hall, a silent acknowledgement of burdens understood only by those who carried them. Friendships blossomed in the quietest moments between demanding duties, in the shared experience of an early morning meal before the court awoke, a late-night vigil in the palace archives, or a simple reflective walk through a secluded garden. These were not relationships of convenience or political maneuvering, but of profound mutual support, a refuge where vulnerability could be shared without fear of judgment. An older, seasoned eunuch, perhaps one who had seen decades of imperial reigns come and go, might become a revered mentor. He would serve as a guide, not just in courtly etiquette or administrative tasks, but in navigating the intricate labyrinth of one's own heart, offering invaluable wisdom on how to endure profound loneliness, how to find enduring pride in meticulous service, or how to cultivate inner peace amidst the constant pressures of their existence. These mentor-mentee relationships transcended the purely professional. They often provided a crucial paternal or fraternal connection, a sense of belonging often lost or denied in their childhood. They were lifelines, in a world designed to keep them emotionally detached. The concept of intimacy for a eunuch was, by necessity, profoundly redefined. While traditional romantic relationships and the possibility of a biological family might have been paths irrevocably closed, the universal human need for connection, for belonging, for love in its broadest, most encompassing sense, remained a potent force. Companionship often took on a deeper, more platonic and intellectually stimulating form. Picture the profound solace found in intellectual camaraderie, in spirited debates about philosophy, history, or the intricacies of statecraft with a trusted confidant. Perhaps it was a shared passion for the arts, for music, for the meticulous beauty of calligraphy, for the delicate brushwork of painting, or the strategic depth of a board game that forged a unique and profound bond, a meeting of minds and spirits. For some, intimacy might have been discovered in the quiet, supportive presence of a loyal personal servant, a fellow spiritual seeker in a remote temple, or even a deep, respectful bond with a trusted member of the imperial household. It was an intimacy born not of physical desire, but of shared spirit, mutual respect, profound understanding of each other's unique circumstances, and an unwavering, quiet loyalty. These relationships, though unconventional by societal standards, were no less real, no less vital to the rich emotional tapestry of their lives, reminding us that human connection is infinitely varied and finds expression even in the most constrained of environments. Delving deeper into their emotional landscape, we must acknowledge the persistent echo of past sacrifices. The initial trauma of castration, particularly if experienced in a tender childhood, often left indelible psychological scars, a phantom limb of identity. There would have been moments of profound sadness, perhaps a quiet yearning for the life that might have been, the warmth of a traditional family, the laughter of children, the simple joys of an ordinary existence. The inherent loneliness in their otherness could feel like a heavy, ever-present cloak, especially when navigating the vast, impersonal spaces of a grand palace or the solemn solitude of a temple. Yet, alongside these struggles, there were distinct and quiet joys that illuminated their inner world. The deep satisfaction of a complex administrative task perfectly executed, the quiet contentment of a ruler's grateful glance, or the pride in a student's successful learning under their tutelage. The profound peace found in intellectual pursuits, in the contemplation of exquisite beauty in nature, or in the serene absorption of sacred texts and philosophical treatises. Imagine a eunuch finding joy in cultivating a rare, delicate orchid in a secluded courtyard, its fragile bloom a testament to patient care and silent devotion, or losing themselves in the intricate, flowing brushstrokes of a painting, finding a powerful, unspoken voice for their inner world through the act of creation. These small, private moments of fulfillment were vital counterpoints to the often overwhelming weight of their public duties and personal history. For many, their intellectual pursuits became a profound, almost spiritual, source of personal meaning and self-worth. Without the conventional distractions and demands of raising a family, some eunuchs dedicated themselves to intense study with an unparalleled fervor, becoming renowned scholars, respected historians, or celebrated poets whose works endured for generations. Their meticulous minds, honed by years of administrative detail and strategic thinking, could unravel complex philosophical concepts, translate ancient texts with precision, or craft exquisite verses that captured the fleeting beauty of the world. Think of the countless hours spent in vast, hushed imperial libraries, surrounded by scrolls and ancient wisdom, finding a deep sense of purpose and belonging in the acquisition, preservation, and creation of knowledge. Art, music, and quiet hobbies also offered powerful and therapeutic outlets. Whether it was the delicate, almost meditative arrangement of a palace garden, the precise and calming practice of calligraphy, or the soulful playing of a musical instrument in solitude, these activities provided a sanctuary for self-expression. They allowed them to explore and process their inner world, to channel emotions into creative endeavors, and to craft beauty in a life that often demanded strict adherence to function and protocol. These were not idle pastimes, but essential components of their emotional well-being, vital pathways to finding joy, meaning, and a profound sense of self beyond their externally imposed roles. Ultimately, the inner lives of eunuchs reveal an extraordinary human capacity to construct profound meaning and find deep connection, even when conventional paths are irrevocably closed. Their experiences teach us that family is not solely defined by blood, that intimacy can flourish in diverse and unexpected forms, and that purpose can be found in dedicated service, in the relentless pursuit of intellect, in the creation of art, and in the quiet, consistent cultivation of one's own soul. Their journey reminds us that resilience is not just about enduring hardship. It is about transforming adversity, about reshaping one's definition of happiness and fulfillment within the unique and often challenging parameters of one's existence. Their lives, though undeniably marked by profound sacrifice and public function, were often rich with quiet dignity, deep contemplation, and a unique form of human connection, affirming that the human spirit can always find a way to bloom, to find its light, even in the most silent and unexpected of inner worlds. From the intricate tapestries of their inner worlds, where unique forms of connection and personal meaning bloomed, our long journey through the life of the eunuch now turns towards its quiet conclusion. The elaborate systems that gave rise to these extraordinary lives, enduring for centuries across various civilizations, did not, and indeed could not, last forever. Like all human institutions, they too faced their eventual decline and abolition. often swept away by the relentless current of changing societal values, evolving moral perspectives, and the unstoppable march of modernity. Imagine the slow, almost imperceptible shift in the global conscience. As Enlightenment philosophies began to take root, as nascent ideas of human rights and individual liberty started to challenge traditional power structures, the practice of castration, particularly for service, increasingly came under intense scrutiny. What was once accepted as a necessary evil, a societal norm, or even a sacred path to spiritual purity, gradually began to be viewed with growing revulsion and moral outrage. The very foundations upon which the eunuch system rested, the absolute, unchecked power of emperors, the rigid, hierarchical structures of ancient religions, the desperate needs born of abject poverty, began, one by one, to erode. Great empires that had relied heavily on eunuchs for their stability and administration either transformed into new forms of governance or simply crumbled under their own weight. The intricate machinery of court life, with its hidden power brokers and silent guardians, became less viable and increasingly anachronistic in an accelerating, modernizing world. Consider, for example, the Chinese imperial court, perhaps the most enduring and extensive bastion of the eunuch system. For over 2 millennia, stretching from ancient dynasties through the Ming and Qing, eunuchs had served as indispensable figures, often wielding immense power and influence that shaped the destiny of an entire civilization. Yet, with the tumultuous fall of the Qing dynasty in the early 20th century, the entire imperial structure itself collapsed, and with it, the institution of the eunuch. The last imperial eunuchs, stripped of their power and purpose, lived out their remaining years in poignant obscurity, their once vital roles rendered utterly obsolete, their unique way of life a powerful, yet fading relic of a bygone era. Similarly, in the vast Ottoman Empire, as the Sultanate gradually declined and modernizing reforms took firm hold, the practice of employing eunuchs in the opulent harems and as high-ranking administrators slowly but inexorably faded into history, deemed incompatible with evolving societal norms and the growing pressures from international perspectives. The end was rarely an abrupt, dramatic cessation, but rather a gradual, almost melancholic process of obsolescence, a quiet confirmation with a sense of relief that such a profound human cost was, at last, no longer deemed acceptable by the broader world. Yet this abolition, while often representing a triumph of evolving human values and a recognition of individual dignity, also left behind a complex and often problematic legacy. How are these lives, so meticulously dedicated, so profoundly altered, so uniquely impactful, truly remembered in our prevailing historical narratives? All too frequently, their immense contributions are tragically overlooked, their nuanced roles diminished, or their very identities distorted and misrepresented. History, predominantly written by the powerful, by those who held conventional, dynastic power, often chose to forget the silent forces who managed the daily operations of empires, who advised the most powerful rulers, or who maintained the intricate spiritual fabric of their societies. Eunuchs are frequently relegated to mere footnotes, stereotyped as treacherous schemers, or depicted as effeminate, pathetic figures. Their true complexity, their profound intellect, and the sheer depth of their human experience rarely explored with the empathy and scholarly rigor they deserve. This historical forgetting is a quiet tragedy in itself, a collective amnesia that erases the silent resilience and extraordinary adaptability that defines so many lives. We, as a society, tend to construct narratives around the grand figures, the heroes and the villains, the kings and queens, the conquering generals and the revered prophets. But what of those who operated in the intricate, essential shadows, who facilitated greatness, who quietly ensured order, who managed the very foundation of societal functioning? Their lives, indelibly marked by immense personal sacrifice, are too often reduced to a mere curiosity, a historical oddity, rather than celebrated for their profound, albeit often unchosen, dedication and significant impact. But tonight, as we reflect on this long, immersive journey, let us strive for a different kind of remembrance. Let us, with empathy and understanding, acknowledge the immense human cost of systems that demanded such a profound sacrifice. Let us truly feel the weight of a childhood often lost prematurely, a conventional future irrevocably denied, and the profound, irreversible transformation of both body and spirit. For the vast majority, this was not a conscious, free choice, but a destiny imposed upon them, and the sheer resilience required to navigate such an extraordinary path, to find meaning and purpose within it, is almost unfathomable to us today. Yet, from that very crucible of challenging circumstance, there there also emerged a silent yet profound and undeniable strength. The strength to adapt, to learn, to excel beyond all conventional expectations. The strength to find deep purpose in dedicated service, an inherent dignity in meticulous duty, and genuine human connection in often unconventional ways. The strength to wield immense political influence without ever seeking to establish a personal dynasty, to guide spiritual communities with a perceived purity that commanded immense respect, and to leave an indelible, lasting mark on the very course of history through sheer intellect, strategic acumen, and unwavering dedication. Their countless contributions, often uncredited or minimized in popular memory, were nonetheless absolutely vital to the daily functioning, the stability, and indeed, the flourishing of ancient empires and religious institutions across the globe. They were the silent pillars upon which much was built, the unseen architects behind grand designs, the quiet custodians of both temporal power and sacred faith. As the echoes of their long, forgotten path gradually recede into the distance of history, let us carry forward the powerful, enduring lessons gleaned from their unique lives, the extraordinary adaptability of the human spirit, its profound capacity to find meaning and purpose, even in the most challenging and restrictive of circumstances. The crucial realization that power can manifest in myriad, often surprising, forms, not always through conventional lineage or overt displays of military force, but sometimes through quiet wisdom, unwavering loyalty, meticulous administration, and profound intellectual prowess. And perhaps, most profoundly, the enduring understanding that every human life, no matter how unique, how historically misunderstood, or how seemingly overlooked, possesses an inherent dignity and an immeasurable value, capable of contributing to the grand, intricate tapestry of human civilization in ways we are only just beginning to truly appreciate. This contemplative reflection now invites us to a final peaceful moment of quiet thought, to deeply consider the quiet yet profound impact of these unique lives, urging each of us to look beyond the superficial surface of history and listen attentively to the silent stories of resilience, sacrifice, and the enduring human spirit. Their path, now largely forgotten by the mainstream, offers us profound, timeless lessons for our own understanding of purpose, of identity, and of the complex, often unseen forces that shape all human destiny, guiding us gently towards a deeper, more empathetic historical consciousness. We've journeyed through the profound depths of eunuchs' lives, from the traumatic dawn of their transformation to their rise as silent architects of empires, sacred guardians, and individuals forging deep personal connections. We've seen their resilience, their extraordinary capacity for adaptation, and the quiet, undeniable strength required to navigate a path unchosen yet meticulously walked. It's a testament to the complex nature of human existence, where sacrifice can paradoxically lead to unique forms of power, wisdom, and enduring legacy. As our historical exploration gently draws to a close, allow these reflections to settle within you. Feel the quiet wisdom of these stories wash over you, preparing your mind and body for a night of deep, restorative sleep. Let the lessons of resilience and purpose guide you into tranquil slumber. If this journey through the silent shadows of history has resonated with you, if it has opened your eyes to new dimensions of human experience, I invite you to share a quiet reflection in the comments. Perhaps a word that best describes what you've learned, or a feeling that has settled within your heart tonight. Your words are a thoughtful contribution to our shared space of contemplation, a way to deepen your own understanding, connect with others on this path of discovery. And if you found peace and insight in this unique historical exploration, consider leaving a gentle like on this video. Not for us, but because your simple gesture helps this message of empathy and understanding reach more curious minds, more souls seeking tranquility and knowledge. You become a quiet beacon, guiding others to this calm space of historical reflection. To continue this journey of profound learning and serene contemplation, to keep exploring the hidden corners of history that offer such deep insights into the human spirit, join our community. Subscribe to the channel. It's not just a click, it's a quiet commitment to nurturing your mind, enriching your understanding, and being part of a thoughtful collective that values wisdom and peaceful discovery. You're saying, I want to continue learning and growing in this tranquil space. If you have journeyed with us all the way to this very end, congratulations. Very few listeners dedicate themselves to such a deep and immersive exploration. You are part of a special, thoughtful community. As a quiet acknowledgement of your dedication and a gentle reward for your persistence, I invite you to leave a secret password in the comments, Silent Echoes. When I see Silent Echoes, I will know you are one of our most dedicated and reflective companions on this journey. This phrases a subtle connection between us, a shared understanding of the profound depths we've explored together. Perhaps you know someone else who would find solace, peace, or profound insight in this deep dive into history, someone who needs a quiet moment of reflection or a new perspective on human resilience. Share this video with them. Your act of sharing can be a bridge of understanding, extending this peaceful journey to another soul who might be seeking it. As the last echoes of this forgotten path gently fade into the night, remember that this space is always here for you, a sanctuary for tranquil historical exploration, a place to find peace, understanding, and a deeper connection to the human story. We look forward to our next shared journey whenever you seek it. For now, allow yourself to drift into a deep, peaceful sleep, carrying with you the quiet wisdom of ages past. Good night.